Hi, and welcome to the wireframing skill. In this video, we're going to cover what are wireframes, why do we even use them, the process of creating them, and as always, we'll dive into a demo. Let's dive right into it. So what are wireframes? I'm pretty sure you've seen them. These are these black and white sketches of rectangulars, basically showing the structure of the website or an app or some kind of a structure and a flow of information. So why do we even do this? Why do we spend time doing these ugly things before we go ahead and just design the information? Well, the reason that we're doing them is because we want to reduce risk, essentially. Now, we've talked about all of the content information, the information architecture, and all the content that needs to go into the website. But we do want to show our clients exactly how that structure is going to look like in terms of both the actual information and the structure in terms of hierarchies. So how long are we going to talk about your team? How much information are we going to share about your product? Before we go ahead and produce all of the final assets and final designs, we want to make sure that we are aligned on it, and we want to get feedback as early as possible. The second thing is we want to disassociate the structure of the website and the content itself from the design. Because once we start involving things like colors, things like images, things like different, fonts, then all of the client's emotions get in the way and we can't actually discuss the actual content, structure, and flow of information. So we first want to address those without having to deal with all of the emotion of the visual aesthetic side of the website. And so we do this just to get feedback and reduce risk, to get that approved before we move on into the visual side of things. Now, here's the process that I recommend doing it. The first step is to start out by sketching. And this is very similar to how we talked about layout. In essence, we are sketching out a layout for the information on the website using all the different components and structures that we talked about in the information architecture skill. And now we're just going to reorganize those patterns, those components into a structure that's going to help us achieve the goals. The fastest way to explore multiple different ideas is by doing that with pen and paper. So you want to make sure that you get started there. I also put, when I do these rectangulars, now the best practices for doing this is you don't really write out all of the text. A lot of times you'll just see, as you can see in this image, like straight line means it's going to be a paragraph here. Doing a rectangular with an X inside means we're going to have some kind of an image here yet. I'm not sure. If you know it's going to be a person, you can, as you can see on the screen, you can basically draw a shape of a person, but it's basically just to show we'll have here something. Now, when it comes to the actual titles, as you can see on this mockup, we do write the actual words because you want to see overall if it's going to be able to fit in the basic space that we have there. But using these shapes, rectangulars with X between them, lines for paragraph, and just general shapes of sections, it allows us to explore multiple ideas very, very fast. Now, once we do that, much like layout, the second step is to go ahead and digitize them. And then we're going to use our design software to create pretty much the same thing. So just gray rectangulars in areas for text to showcase the layout. Now, I do, while I'm showing you this example, this is something very common here. They didn't use texts at all. Some people would show you, like titles with lorem ipsum, but I actually delivered my wireframe with an actual text. As I've mentioned before, when we talked about content, I do the heavy lifting because I want to get feedback on the content at that stage, not on the design, not on images and stuff like that, but on the actual text. I do think it's highly valuable to showcase wireframing, including the text. Now, after you've created the digital version, the reason that you have done that is actually two reasons. One, you want to be able to share that with your client so that you'll be able to get feedback. The second thing is this is already kind of a half step before you creating your actual design. You have actually created the foundation of the file that once approved, all you have to do is now start adding colors, making type selections, readjusting the layout. And you already have all of the content besides, so your process to moving into the actual visual design is going to be much faster. And after you shared it, after you've collaborated, the point of this step is to get approval, all right? This is a big milestone in your design project. You get a sign off, yes, we agree to this structure, those are the pages, those are the sections, now we go ahead and design them. If we skip that approval phase, we might have later down the line all kinds of discussion. Oh, but maybe we need to add this, or maybe we need to remove this after you've worked for hours designing it. The point of getting an approval right now is so that you're all aligned on what the general structure is going to look like before you go ahead and spend time designing it. All right, a very common question is, what tool do you use? And there's a bunch of tools. Essentially, it's just drawing gray rectangulars, right? You can use anything. And I've actually used things like even, Google Draw or stuff like that to collaborate with clients on wireframing. So the answer here is, what's most comfortable to you and what's most comfortable to your clients. Now, personally, as I've mentioned, for me right now, doing the wireframe is almost half of the design because I put most of the design in place. So my recommendation is use the software that you're going to end up, designing with. If that's Figma, just use Figma to do the wireframing. If that's, Sketch or XD, use those, because essentially if you do this step properly, the next steps are going to be way, way, way easier to turn that into an actual design. So I feel like most software today can do the very basic wireframing and prototyping. And by meaning prototyping, I mean connecting the links to different pages so that you can have an actual linkable prototype where people can just click on things and see how the navigation works and how do you get from page to page. And so most design software today, they all have these features. Most of the design software today all have, sharing capabilities and collaboration capabilities, such as commenting and stuff like that. So just use the tool that you are most comfortable with. There is no specific tool that you need to use for wireframing. I want to talk a little bit about UIKit. I assume you might be familiar with them, but if not, a UIKit is basically just kind of a library. It's a design file that includes most of the components that we covered in the previous content chapter, with multiple layout variants. So basically, these are ready-made components that you can basically pick and choose and organize them much like a puzzle or something like that to build out your design. Now, when done properly, when used properly, this can be a huge time saver, because for a lot of the things that we're going to do, we're going to use components that are standards, right? We're going to have a hero section, we're going to have testimonials, we're going to have all of these components. And so if there's already a layout that pretty much works and we want to use that, then doing this will save us a lot of time. Also, when you're working with a good UI kit, it's also going to come with all the styles, so that later on when you turn it into a design, you can just change the general style of the color, the general style of the font, and your whole design will be ready. That's a huge time saver. And our recommendation for great UI kit, you'll find them in the resources doc. That being said, I do want you to be cautious when you're using UIKit, because it's a huge time saver. It will also make you lazy because it's so good. So you might just start, using only this as your kind of layout tool, and then you'll end up basically, sometimes you might end up looking like a template. And so that's also part of the reason that I encourage you to first think on paper without anything ready-made. And then if the layout that you chose exist in some kind of a template that you can use to save up time, that's great. That being said, if you have an idea that doesn't have a component for it, go the extra mile and create that unique layout or solution that you thought of, even if it doesn't exist in that specific UI kit that you work with. All right, let's dive into a demo and I'll show you how I do my wireframes. Okay, so for this demo, let's try to do a wireframing for this mobile app company that does sleep app, helps to eliminate insomnia. So they need the app to convey app features and benefits, call to action to download. They have a blog, they want to showcase the backstory, success stories, press page. All right, they have a pretty big sitemap. Of course, if you would do this as a real project, you would do wireframing for all of these pages, but let's start with the home page just to show you how I would go about doing this. So as a first step, I went ahead and did a manual sketch, as I usually do, and just sketch out the home page. So we'll have a navigation here, we'll have some kind of an image, we'll have the title, all your sleeping problems solved, with a button to probably download. Then I've decided to use the logo bar because it was mentioned that they have a lot of press, press that was written about them. So this is a good trust indicator as shown in whatever, CNN, whatever. And then I thought I want to tell kind of the stories of their benefits. And the way I'll do that is each time showcase kind of a benefit with kind of an image, and I want people to be fixed here and I want them to scroll through as if maybe it's a night time and you can see the sky here and stars. So there will be kind of a visual story that I want to scroll to the left while we're seeing the benefits. And then once that's done, you're going to continue scrolling down and you're going to have a success story. So it's basically just like a big testimonial. We'll have an image of the person here and we'll have the story in quotes here. And then just a big download section, like a big call to action just before the footer. Now, I've got this wireframing and I'll start to see if I can use a wireframing kit just to make things easier on me. I'm now inside the Platforma Web Wireframes, which was one of my favorite wireframing kit. And I'm just gonna start copy pasting components and editing them and see how that goes. So let's start with navigation. I'm gonna go here into components for the wide one and let's see what kind of a navigation they have. Basically, here's the one that I want. It's the most simple one, logo on the left, navigation on the right with a search. Of course, we don't need all of that. So I'm gonna go here into my page. I have a home page here. I can just paste it here and then I can just start editing this. So here, I'm not going to change this because I don't have a real logo right now, but we can start editing those based on the pages that we have here. So let's decide what's going to be on the navigation. I'm not sure we're going to show everything. Careers, for example, not something important for the main navigation. Press, I'm also not sure that should be in the main one. Blog, I don't know. I actually do think it's kind of weird that they don't have a product page here in this sitemap, but no worries about that. Let's just say I want to have the about page, stories, and contact in here. And of course, I also want a download button. So let's edit this component. Let's change this to about. Let's change the second one. What was the second one? Stories. And then we want to have the third one, maybe let's call it something more clear like success stories. And then we want to have one which is about, and then we'll have a blog, and they are ordered by significant. I don't need all of these, so we can just remove them. And you can see it's very nicely aligned. I do want though a call to action button. Let's see if we have here. Oh, actually there is one with a button. So let's take the button and let's edit here into this. I'm gonna move this a little bit to the right and we're gonna add the button here. Let's write here, download. All right. Okay, so I have the navigation. The good thing about this, it's already a component here so that we can reuse this again and again. Let's see, the first section is kind of a pretty classic hero section. Let's see if there's a component here that can be a good one. yeah, this is actually not far from what we need, right? We need, yeah, we need something like this, right? An image on the right, a headline here. Let's take this into our sleeping app. I'm going to paste it here right after the navigation. I actually don't need this extra text. I want this to be all your sleeping problems solved. This looks pretty good. I actually, maybe we'll have a subtext here. The best app to solve insomnia problems, award-winning, top-rated. Of course, you'll write here something that makes sense. Action, download for free. All right, so we have the hero section, and then what else? A logo. Let's see if we have here components. Let's see if we have logo components here. Do we have something here ready-made? No, I don't think that we have a ready-made components for the logos. In that case, what I am going to do, oh, here, we actually do have them. So, customers, or, yeah, I'll take this layout, which is not bad, and I'll put it here, and I will change the type to, you know, as seen on, because this is a media and this is not, you know, these are not our clients. This is actually for media. So as seen on, these are going to be logos of the media. What else do we have after that? We have the scrolling section. So here, let's start doing this. Let's see what features do we have for this. For this one, I'm going to give it a different background just to make it a different section. Looks like we've moved into a different section. I'm going to use, yeah, probably something like this. Although I would prefer to show it not with a screen, but with something like this. So let me take this one and put it here as a secondary section. But I don't really need all of that information. I don't need the button and I don't need this. I only want some text. And I do want this to be sleep full nights again. And I would of course write actual real world text here. Now I do want this to be scrollable. Actually, we'll do that in a second. We'll do all these scrolling interactions in a second. Let's continue trying to build up the page. Now we want this success story. Let's see what they have. They probably have here in components testimonials, but I'm not sure they have a kind of like a full page testimonial. They do have testimonials that look like this, centered. They do have this, which is pretty close. So I'm going to take this. This is not exactly what I need, but I'm going to adjust it to my needs. So I'm going to paste it here right after this section. I do not need these arrow elements. I do not need these little small dots here. So I'm going to do this. I do want this to be on the same side. So we have switched sides to this, and actually now it looks pretty good. Again, if I would do this for a real client, I would change the text here to some mock text, but let's continue right now. And then I want a download section. So let's go here into a download section. Let's see if they have here some kind of a call to action section. Call to action sections, call to actions. Am I missing something? Yeah, probably something along these lines can work well. So we'll go back here, and I don't want a tagline. I just want to say try our app for free. Try our app for free. and then download. Download. In real life, by the way, I would probably put here, if this is an app, I would put the, you know, these mobile apps. I would put these just because, you know, it's helpful to know what platform apps are on. So let me see if I can grab these things, these badges. Let's take them and also bring them here. But I want them to be one next to each other, and let's take them together. But I do, you see they're competing. It looks like the hierarchy is competing right now with the download button. So I'm just going to reduce their opacity to something like, I don't know, 50% or something. Maybe even lower than that, just because I want to make sure that they understand, and maybe even make this smaller as well. Never mind. You get the gist. And now the last thing we'll do is we'll bring in a footer. Actually, this is a complicated website with a lot of pages. Probably this footer is the best, the closest thing to what we need. We'll go through this, and I'll go ahead and change all the links to the actual pages in the website. Now, before I go ahead, I can make the page shorter, right? Don't need the page. This is something that I sometimes hate with Figma, that when you change the artboard, all the relative things change. But this can be the actual page. And now I want to make a prototype to explain to them how this would work. So I would probably go into something like duplicating this into some more sections, right? Something like this. And I would actually group these things together. Of course, I would put actual content here. And then I would go ahead and duplicate this page, the home page. We'll call this homepage features scroll. And then I'm going to go here into the prototyping, and I'm going to add an interaction. When somebody clicks what? When somebody clicks this, let's add an interaction. So what happens on click? It navigates into the second page, right? Homepage features scroll. And actually, it's not going to be an instant. It's going to be a smart animate. And what we're going to do here is on the second one, on the second home page, we're just going to move this inner thing like it was scrolled like this. So basically it's going to jump from this to this. And now we can click play to view the prototype. And this prototype, of course, is what we're going to share with our clients. And we're going to tell them, we can even leave a comment to tell them, click on this section, and then you see it scrolling. And of course, you can use the arrows to navigate throughout this prototype. And this prototype is something that they can use to comment, as adding the comments here. So this would be the prototype that I would share with my clients. All right, so to sum up the wireframing chapter, the content of the wireframing should include the whole content of the whole website, including all of the pages and including a draft of the copy so that you can get feedback on it. Now, the second thing is, although we are not showing colors and images here, we are showing in essence hierarchies. So you want to make sure that the hierarchies that are planned are already in place. Now, you want to make sure that the prototype that you're sharing with your client makes it easy for them to give feedback in terms of comments, in terms of having a discussion on it. And lastly, it should make it easy for you to turn it later on into the actual design. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.